Once upon a time, there was a poor lad named Jack who lived with his mother in a small house at the bottom of a valley. One day, Jack's mother told him to go down to the market and sell their cow so they could have some money to eat over the winter. When Jack got to the market, he met an old man who said, "Hey, would you trade me your cow for these magic beans?" Jack thought it was a pretty strange offer, but he said, "Sure," and took the beans from the old man and went home. When his mother saw the beans, she was furious. She said, "What are we going to do with these beans? We were supposed to get money for that cow, and now look, all we have is a bag of beans." Jack said, "Don't worry, Mom, I think these beans might be special." Then they put the beans in a pot, set them on the fire, and went to bed. The next morning, Jack and his mom woke up early and came downstairs to see if the beans had done anything. And they were very surprised to see that the beans had sprouted and grown into a huge beanstalk that reached all the way up into the sky. Jack looked up the beanstalk and saw that there was a cloud at the top of it. He asked his mom, "Do you think I should climb this beanstalk and see where it goes?" His mom said, "No way. It could be dangerous. You don't know what's up there. You should probably just pull up the beanstalk and plant these beans in the garden." But Jack didn't want to listen to his mom. He wanted to be an explorer and find out where the beanstalk went. So he started climbing the beanstalk up towards the clouds. As he climbed higher and higher, he heard footsteps above him and looked up to see a giant coming his way. Jack tried to hide behind a leaf, but the giant reached out his big hand and grabbed hold of Jack by the collar. Jack struggled to get away, but the giant was much stronger than he was. The giant asked, "Hey, little boy, what are you doing on my beanstalk?" Jack said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Giant, but I climbed up your beanstalk because I wanted to see where it went. I didn't mean any harm." The giant wasn't too happy about this, but he didn't seem to want to hurt Jack, so he said, "All right, if you really just want to see where the beanstalk goes, then I guess you can keep going up it. But don't come down it or try to take anything that's mine. If I catch you stealing anything or doing anything you're not supposed to, I'll turn you into toadstool mush." Jack apologized for his behavior and promised the giant that he wouldn't steal anything or do anything he wasn't supposed to. Then the giant let him go and walked away. Jack sighed a breath of relief and continued climbing up the beanstalk until he reached the top and saw that the cloud opened up to reveal a beautiful castle made entirely of gold. Jack rubbed his eyes in disbelief because he thought he was dreaming. There were trees and flowers everywhere, birds singing and deer playing. It was the most magical place Jack had ever seen. Then he heard some footsteps and turned around to see that the giant was coming back. Jack tried to run away, but the giant was way faster than him and grabbed him again. "You said you weren't going to leave the beanstalk," the giant said angrily. "How did you get past me?" Jack said. "But Mr. Giant, you let me go. You said I could go anywhere I wanted as long as I didn't steal anything." The giant thought about this for a second and realized that he actually did let Jack go. So he said, "Well, since I let you go, I guess you can stay here as long as you don't steal anything. Now get out of here before I change my mind." Jack thanked the giant and ran as fast as he could away from the beanstalk. Jack looked around and realized that nobody was around. He thought to himself, "This place looks so amazing. I wonder if anybody lives here." Just then, Jack heard a knock at the door and it opened up. A beautiful princess came out and said, "Hello there." Jack couldn't believe how pretty the princess was. She had flowing blonde hair, sparkling blue eyes, and a kind smile. The princess asked, "Can I help you?" Jack stammered, "Oh, hello. I'm Jack. I was just wondering if anyone lived here because I saw the giant go back up the beanstalk and I thought maybe you were his wife or something and you might need some help getting him to stop coming down the beanstalk because honestly, this place is kind of creepy." The princess laughed and said, "Oh no, you're very funny. That is our king up there. He isn't a nice guy. He makes me live in this castle by myself." Jack felt bad for the princess, so he said, "Well, if you want, I can climb up that beanstalk and get rid of your king. Problem solved." The princess said, "You do that for me? You're so nice. Thank you so much." Then she turned and walked back into the castle. Jack waited a moment and decided to follow her in. He walked into a huge room full of treasure, chests overflowing with gold coins and jewels. Jack thought to himself, "Wow, I could give this princess half my treasure and still be rich beyond my wildest dreams." As the princess walked past him, Jack quickly grabbed a sack of coins and hid them under his jacket. The princess noticed and asked, "What's that?" Jack lied and said, "Nothing. I swear." The princess didn't say anything, but she kept staring at Jack. After a while, she finally said, "You know, I think I like you, Jack. Let's get out of here before my father comes back." They ran outside and started to walk away from the castle. All of a sudden, Jack felt something hit his leg. He looked down and saw that one of the magic beans had fallen off and landed on the ground. Jack picked it up and planted it in the dirt. The princess asked, "Why are you planting that bean?" Jack said, "I think this bean might be magic. I wonder if it will grow another beanstalk." The princess and Jack watched the bean grow into a brand new beanstalk that reached all the way up to the clouds. The princess smiled and said, "It's time to go home." She hugged Jack goodbye and jumped onto the beanstalk and slid all the way down. Jack knew he had to tell his mom about the princess, so he hurried home and told her everything that happened. Meanwhile, the princess slid down the beanstalk and transformed into a beautiful white dove. She flew up to the giant's castle and landed on the windowsill. She knocked on the glass and the giant's daughter opened the window. The daughter asked, "Who are you?" The dove said, "Please let me in. I need your help." The daughter brought the dove inside and the princess explained her plan to defeat the king. Together, the princess and the king's daughter pretended that the princess was a magic genie who could grant the king 3 wishes. The princess told the king that her first wish was to be married to the most handsome prince in the kingdom. The king agreed and said, "You shall have the most handsome prince in the kingdom." Then the princess said, "My second wish is to have all the treasure in the kingdom." The king agreed again and waved his magic wand, making all the treasure appear in front of them. Then the princess said, "My third and final wish is to be free from me." The king was confused, but he agreed. He waved his magic wand and the princess revealed herself, knocking the king unconscious with a frying pan. The princess and the king's daughter tied the king up and locked him in the dungeon. Then they lived happily ever after.